Thank you very much. The program is long, so I will try to be brief. I thank Governor Cuomo and Mayor Bloomberg for their support of this project and for governing each in their own way in the spirit of Franklin Roosevelt. I thank Ambassador Vanden Heuvel for devoting so much of his life and passion to keeping the legacy of Franklin Roosevelt alive and relevant to us today. I thank all of the people who were introduced and those who were not introduced, all of whom have made their contributions to America, many inspired by President Roosevelt. And a special thanks to the members of the Roosevelt family who are here, and to one who is not, Eleanor, who made sure that the four freedoms were included in the preamble to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. I know that because, as all of you famously learned when I served as president, my wife, now the Secretary of State, was known to commune with Eleanor on a regular basis. And so she called me last night on her way home from Peru to remind me to say that Eleanor had talked to her and reminded her that I should say that. This day has been a long time coming, and many people brought it about, but I do want to acknowledge one more person. I want to thank Fred Eichner, one of the wisest, most generous people I have ever known, for making sure this dream did not die and keeping it alive while the rest of you were able to do what needed to be done to bring it to fruition. I was honored to speak at the dedication of the Franklin Roosevelt Memorial on the banks of the Tidal Basin close to the Jefferson Memorial in 1997. A different century, a country in different circumstances. The Cold War won, unemployment low, the economy booming, the budget about to be in surplus for the first time in decades. The future looked so bright then that it was tempting to wonder if the two freedoms that Franklin Roosevelt personally added to the First Amendment protections for speech and religion, freedom from fear and freedom from want, could also be relegated to history as having been fully achieved. It was not the case in 1941, when the president first pronounced them in the State of the Union. It was not the case in 1945 at the end of the war. And it is no longer the case today. But the dream is still the right dream for America. In this park that Louis Kahn designed but didn't live to see, I'm reminded of another speech President Roosevelt wrote, but sadly did not live to deliver. 4 years after the Four Freedoms speech at the Little White House in Warm Springs, in celebration of Thomas Jefferson's birthday, April 13th, FDR wrote that we as Americans do not choose to deny our responsibility, nor do we intend to abandon our determination that within the lives of our children and our children's children, there will not be a third world war. Looking beyond imminent victory in World War II, he committed the nation to a course of action that has truly reshaped our world. As we look out on this bright new day, we are close to the United Nations, which he more than any other soul created, and which has contributed to avoiding that third world war. We are also close to ground zero, which reminds us that we are not yet free from fear. And we are also close to the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, which reminds us that for 67 years since 1945, people still come here from all over the world seeking the four freedoms. In 1997, at the other Roosevelt Memorial, I said our mission was to prepare America for a time to come. An America still inspired by FDR's enduring ideals and ideas. 15 years later, we have gained a lot of freedom in civil rights and women's rights, in the ability of the strong countries around the world to minimize human suffering and lift prosperity and health care, and to minimize the cost of human tragedy. But we have again been tested by fear, and too many of our neighbors here at home still struggle to find freedom from want. This park should always remind us that those dreams are worth pursuing. Perhaps, ironically, it is altogether fitting that this day was delayed until a time when we knew that we could never take the four freedoms for granted. In a time when we too would have to decide whether to build a country that benefits the many and not just the few. A time when we too would have to shoulder our share of the responsibility for freeing people from fear and from want. When we would have to remind ourselves that the freedom of religion requires mutual respect and not recrimination from those who worship differently from us, and requires us to insist that they accord us the same rights. This is a wonderful day for our country, a day to remember that the words Franklin Roosevelt spoke so long ago still mean something today, partly because we need bold, persistent experimentation, partly because we need innovation, and mostly because we need never to forget that we will never be free of these fears until we are one community of shared prosperity, shared responsibilities, and a shared sense of citizenship. Thank you.